In recent weeks, international media have begun reporting on a story once unthinkable. Australia, one of America's closest allies, is seriously considering joining the BRICS bloc. This isn't just rumour. Respected outlets like the Financial Times, The Guardian Australia and Politico are discussing it openly, citing multiple diplomatic sources. Behind closed doors in Canberra, officials are questioning whether staying tied to Washington still serves the nation's interests. The turning point was the collapse in relations following Donald Trump's aggressive tariff policy. What began as a fight with China has now spread to US allies, including Australia. The new tariffs on Australian aluminium, steel, and agricultural exports have hit the economy hard, especially since exports are the lifeblood of the Australian market. Insiders describe growing divisions within the government. While some ministers remain loyal to the US alliance, others argue it's time for strategic independence, deepening ties with China, India, and Russia instead. What's made things worse is Washington's increasingly self-centered approach. Trump recently told Fox News that America will no longer babysit even its friends unless they play by American rules. In Australia, that statement was seen as a direct insult. Meanwhile, Beijing has sensed an opportunity. According to Bloomberg, Chinese diplomats have intensified their efforts in Canberra, offering major trade concessions and investment guarantees for Australia's cooperation within a BRICS Plus framework. Outwardly, these offers are framed as expanding economic opportunities. But beneath the surface, it's a calculated move that could shift the balance of power across the entire Indo-Pacific region. If Australia truly moves closer to BRICS, it would deal a devastating blow to Washington's security architecture in Asia, stripping the US of one of its most reliable partners. Experts at Sydney's Lowy Institute note that this shift isn't as surprising as it seems. Australia's economy already leans heavily toward China. More than 35% of its exports go there, from iron ore to beef and wine. When Trump's tariffs struck Australian goods, China wasted no time stepping in, offering preferential deals and expanded purchases. As the South China Morning Post put it, China extended a hand when Australia needed it most, the US did not. This new rhetoric is now spreading beyond think tanks into the business community. The Australian Aluminium Council recently warned that US tariffs could destroy thousands of jobs and unravel a partnership that took decades to build. In Washington, alarm bells are ringing. The Washington Post reports that Trump's advisors are discussing emergency steps to keep Australia from drifting away, possibly through new military pacts under the AUKUS alliance. But for many Australians, military promises aren't enough anymore. According to defence insiders, officers within the Ministry of Defence are now asking, if the US goes to war with China tomorrow, does that automatically make Australia a target? That question is being raised more and more frequently, even during closed parliamentary sessions. At the same time, China's influence continues to expand. Beijing is offering multi-billion-dollar investments in ports, railways, and renewable energy projects. Chinese state banks are reportedly in secret talks with major Australian financial institutions, a quiet yet strategic campaign to pull Australia closer into China's economic orbit. If this trend continues, Australia could become BRICS' first Western member, a symbolic and strategic victory for Beijing, Moscow, and New Delhi. Rand Corporation analysts warn that losing Australia would cripple America's Indo-Pacific containment strategy. Australia hosts vital US intelligence and satellite facilities, and if Canberra starts hedging between Washington and Beijing, that stability vanishes. Despite these growing risks, Trump appears to be underestimating the gravity of the situation. In his speeches, he continues to double down on tariffs, demanding that allies pay more for America's protection, a message that's increasingly backfiring. Australia, once firmly anchored in the Western alliance, is now looking eastward. Political analyst Rory Medcalf warns that if Trump doesn't shift course, Australia could become the first Western nation to choose BRICS over Washington. Ironically, in trying to punish China, the US may be driving its own allies directly into Beijing's arms. China's strategy has been remarkably subtle, focusing not on threats, but on economics, culture, and partnership. According to Nikkei Asia, Chinese state-backed funds are financing major Australian projects, from green energy to high-speed rail, and even setting up joint research centres with local universities. Through this soft power approach, China is slowly reshaping Australia's economic and intellectual landscape, building ties that will be hard to break. Meanwhile, Chinese media in English portray Australia not as a follower of the US, but as a potential leader of the Southern Pacific, a nation ready to stand on its own. Inside Canberra, voices calling for independence are growing louder. Many now argue that joining BRICS could help Australia unlock its full potential, instead of staying in America's shadow. Sources cited by Reuters reveal that Chinese diplomats have even held meetings with Australian trade unions and business associations, promising secure contracts and stable demand for Australian goods if the country aligns with BRICS. But this isn't just about trade. Beijing is offering Australia a place in what the Financial Review calls the club of nations that will control the future of global resources. For many in Canberra, it's beginning to look less like an alternative and more like an opportunity. Even India, despite past tensions with Australia, supports the idea. The Hindu reports that New Delhi views Australia's potential entry as a way to strengthen the southern flank of BRICS and position India as a mediator between China and the West. As all this unfolds, panic is quietly spreading through Washington. The Wall Street Journal recently revealed that the US National Security Council is already analysing the Australia scenario, warning that if Canberra joins BRICS, America's entire network of alliances in Asia could unravel like a house of cards. After Australia, countries like New Zealand, Indonesia, and the Philippines might be next. In the end, what began as Trump's tariff war may set off one of the biggest geopolitical realignments of the 21st century. Unless Washington acts fast, BRICS could soon evolve from a club of emerging economies into a true global power bloc, with Australia as its Western Trojan horse.